Okay, time for some primer. So I'm using the One Shot Ammo by MIG primer, which is rebottled Stynylrez Res from everything I've heard. And I brought that up many times before, but you know, there you go. So I'm going to prime with this because I want it to be correct, so I can do some chipping. Now, one of the things that I do not like about this bottle is this kind of flip cap thing. This thing has given me nothing but trouble since I've had it. It's just a pain. Not good at all. I'm going to have to switch to using a dropper, I think. Which is what I'm going to do right now. So let me get... So there's that. I'll drop this in the trash. And get ready to spray this business. Alright, so first thing I'll do the chair that goes in the back there. I may have to do multiple coats. So I'll just go through them all. There's that. And then now I've got this one clipped here. I don't care if it gets paint on that part because that part is underneath. So it's going to be it's going to have glue on it, so I really don't want paint or primer on it anyway. And I'm using the Iwata HP M2. Which is a pretty jolly airbrush for doing this kind of stuff. If you hear a bunch of kid talk going in the background, fret not. It is my grandchild is here, and my wife and my daughter are, see, there she was just screaming, having a jolly old time with the granddaughter. Oh, look at that magical glove that appeared on my hand. I don't want to get paint on myself. Now for the interior. So there it is, just about done. And no, I'm not painting or priming the engine compartment because it's not going to be seen at all. And I don't see the need to use any of my primer to prime something that is not going to be seen. So, clean up my airbrush, and we'll come back and do some paint. Alright, so I've got the primer on here. So I am ready to do the paint. And for that, I am going to use XF63 German Gray. But before I do that, I'm going to give this here model a shot of hairspray because I'm wanting to do some chipping and stuff on the bottom and on the inside, and I want the primer to show through. So what I'm using here is just this little teeny tiny bottle of Tamiya, which is used by professionals, to do my hairspray. So I'm going to shoot this on here real quick, and then I can throw some paint on here. Okay, I got my paint mixed up. I'm using, as I said, German XF63, and I just mixed some up with some X28 thinner. So I'll spray all this stuff. let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm just going to spray it all, and then I'll mask it off or something and spray the radios. I don't even think all this back here needs to be sprayed, but you never can tell what's going to show and what isn't. I've made that mistake before. So that looks pretty good. Now let's spray this here. We'll do the interior of the actual vehicle last. So, I know I've said it before, but I really like Tamiya paint and how it sprays. And if I had to set this down for some reason, I could come back in 5 minutes and it'd be dry in the thin stuff up around the, you know, further up the edges, but I'd still be able to spray with it. And I wouldn't be able to leave it for a real long time, obviously, but this stuff's a lot more forgiving than some of the water-based paints. Some of those are just horrible when it comes to how quickly they dry, which in some ways I guess it's okay. But you know, this dries really quick once you get it sprayed on, and you can actually work with it really quickly. But you can also, like if I were to leave that sitting in there for a while and come back, a little bit of lacquer thinner, and it would be, well, let's put it this way, whenever you put lacquer thinner in there, it dissolves it and turns it back into a liquid. You can't do that with water-based acrylics like Vallejo or stuff like that. Once it's dried, it's just like a rubbery skin. Because I guess it's vinyl based or something like that. I don't know. Thought I read that somewhere. Don't take that as gospel, as they say, but it's just it creates more of a skin, and it can be a real pain, especially if you let it sit in your airbrush too long. You're in big trouble. One of the many reasons that I've gone pretty much to completely using Tamiya for my paint, for my airbrush. It's the only one I get along with. Alright, so the next part I need to do is do some detail painting. So, according to this, the seats should be a khaki color. I'm assuming like canvas or something like that. So actually, I take that back. First thing I need to paint is the front seats, and those are supposed to be red-brown, like leather or something. So let's see. Yeah, red-brown. So I've got model color, Vallejo model color. leather brown that I'm going to use for those. So I'm going to get some of this mixed up with some water. Alright, so I got me some paint mixed up here. I just used distilled water to dilute it. And we'll get this painted up. Alright, so that takes care of that. That's the leather. And what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll use a lighter, like a little bit of a yellowish in the color to distress it and make it look like, you know, it's worn a little bit. But there's that. So we got those done. So now we need to do the canvas on this one. Leastwise, what I'm thinking is canvas. So we'll use khaki, the Vallejo model color khaki. And there's not much of that color. And yes, I'm using this contaminated water. What a jerk I am, huh? Again, I'm just using that distilled water with just a little bit of residual leftover stuff from the okay, so this is like stretched across here, it looks like. So we'll go around the edges like that. This long stick's making it hard to paint on camera. And again, this will get some weathering, so it won't look so monotone and uniform. I'm not gonna paint underneath, because you sure aren't gonna see that. Gray is one of those colors that's kind of hard to see detail. When painting. I don't know if it's my lighting or just my eyeballs. Sometimes I can't really pick out the detail, like where there's a ridge or something like that, like a demarcation. Alrighty then. It's not my cleaning thing, but that's what I'm using right now. So there's that. So next, I think I'll paint, some more of the details in the inside of the crew area here. So I'll mix up some paints and get some of that put on there, and we'll come back and kind of take a look and see what's going on. Here's a little cheater trick. So the inside of these things right here are supposed to be black. So it's kind of hard to paint them. I mean, it can be done, but instead I'm using any kind of wash would work, but I'm using the Tamiya panel line accent in black. That way you just touch it in there, it just fills that up, boom, it's black. Same thing on this side here. Just make sure you don't have a whole lot on there, because you don't want to just totally flooding the thing. But just, oops, And if you get a little on the outside, well, I guess you can just wipe it off. Or just touch it up with your gray paint. Or just not have to do anything at all, looks like. Just like that, fills it in. Boom. No muss, no fuss, no stress. So I've got all this stuff painted up. I'm going to do something with this radio. It just looks kind of blah. It's supposed to be gray with black controls and stuff, and black framework, and it's just, I don't know, it just kind of looks, oh, I forgot to paint that part. But it just looks kind of blah, so I'm going to have to add some weathering, some washes. I'll probably dry brush these knobs and stuff just to make them come out a little bit. I'll dry brush them with a lighter color just so they kind of pop a little bit. But we'll have to see. In here, I've got all of this stuff painted. The knobs on the levers and stuff. The steering wheel's been painted black. I still have to paint this khaki here. The MP40 ammo pouch thing, and then I need to paint these round things here. I'm wondering if those are, I think those are drum magazines. Didn't even know what they were at first. I think those are drum magazines for the MG34. So I've got to paint those, so let me work on that a little bit. Okay, as you can see here, I've started the chipping off and rubbing off some of the paint for the weathering process here. You know, utilizing the whole hairspray business. So I'm just trying on this here, I'm just going to kind of hit the corners and stuff. I don't want to bang it up too much. Just places where somebody would, you know, rub the paint off or whatever. And that's what I've tried to do in here. Now it looks kind of stark right now, but once I put some washes in there and do some more like dusty and dirty weathering, it's going to kind of bring it all together. As soon as I get all that done though, first thing I'm going to do is spray a clear coat in there so I can start doing a wash in there, pin wash and stuff like that. So it's kind of subtle, but as you can see, it's starting to rub the paint off. I'm just trying to rub it off of high spots. I don't want to get too crazy with it. But in this case, I'm getting more of a rubbing off motion than actual chips because of all the texture of the floor, the diamond plate floor. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Oh, and my olive green wash on top of that gray worked out pretty good. That's the exact color I was shooting for. Whether or not it's accurate color, I don't know, but it looks better than just that plain gray that looked like everything else. Okay, see, there we go. We got some stuff, the outer layer coming off there. Looking pretty dandy. Okay, again, I don't want to do it too much because Yeah, see, that turned out pretty good. I like that. So I'll just continue working on this a little bit, and then when I come back, I'll do a little bit of detail paint on that radio. Then I can start thinking about doing the clear coat. In the inside once I get these parts glued in. Alright, I've got my clear all mixed up, so it's ready to go. So I'm going to use the old Iwata HP M2 again, and I think I'll start spraying the inside of this first, and then I'll spray the parts that haven't been attached yet. So I can come back to this and put another coat on if I need to. Main reason I'm doing this is to help the washes and stuff flow a little bit better whenever I start doing that. Because Tamiya, if you watch my channel much, you'll know that I say that I've mentioned before that Tamiya paint is so flat that whenever I try and do a wash, it can sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, it just basically soaks in to the wash, soaks into the surrounding paint, doesn't flow. And that's the whole idea of a pin wash, is to get it to flow into all the details and stuff. So that's why I use a clear coat. I used to use mostly gloss, but sometimes it doesn't work the way I want. And so last time I placed an order for supplies, I ordered some SemiGloss to do this. And if I haven't mentioned it, the SemiGloss I use Model Master Acryl. This one, of course, is SemiGloss. I use it for my flats, and it works really well for that. So I figured, hey, I'll try their SemiGloss, see how that works. So in a way, this is kind of an experiment with a new, some new stuff. Sometimes if I'm feeling especially scientific, I'll mix up a batch of the paints I'm using and put Tamiya clear in it, X22, just so it'll give the paint a more semi-gloss finish, to make this a little, to do the same thing, to where the washes flow really good. All right, that should be enough. Okay, the clear has dried, so I'm going to get some wash stuff ready, and I'm not going to use the panel line accent wash. Let's see. Okay, I mixed up some, now that this is all dry, I mixed up some 502 Abteilung black. The reason I'm using black is because this is such a dark interior with this dark gray. I wanted to I want it to actually show up. So let's see, where can I start? It's going to kind of be hard to show you what it's doing because of, oh yeah, spectacular. Oh, look at that. Okay, so that's working pretty good. So I'm just going to go around all of the detail and outline everything really good. So the SemiGloss seems to work pretty good for allowing this stuff to seep around and look right. So let's go here. Yeah, it's working good. Yeah, that's all working really good. So I'm just going to go around and get all the detail. Get that all there. Yeah, this is working good. So it looks like the SemiGloss is going to be the way I'm going to start going with my whenever I do my clear coat for weathering stuff. And again, it's not really necessary. This is just the way I do it. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but for those of you who might be new, I used to mention it a lot more early on in my video career, but I have what I call the 10 by 10 rule. You get 10 people, they're going to do 10 different things to achieve the same or similar result. So what I'm showing here is not the only way to do things. It's just the way I do it. Now some people adopt some of what I do, and not to say that what I do is completely original, because really a lot of stuff we do is just stuff we've seen other people do, or an amalgamation of things other people do. So, you know, this is just the way I do it. You may have a totally different way. You may have a way that you can do similar or combine with this. It's not the only way to do it. That's what I'm saying. So this is working quite well. I'm stoked. All this is doing what I wanted to do. And it's just highlighting. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of people on the interwebs that have some really good videos. And there is one particular person, Panzermeister 36, and he says, and I totally agree with him, he says the single best thing you can do for your model is the wash. And the reason for that is it really brings out the detail of a kit. It creates false shadows, so details pop a lot better. So anyway, I'm going to put a link down in the bottom, and you can check his channel out. He's got some super good weathering videos, and he does some really good work. And yeah, he pretty well smokes what I do, to be honest. But hey, share the love, I say. He has some really good stuff. So I'm going to link that for you down on the bottom. So check that out if you get a chance. So yeah. Okay, so I've got the washes done, and as you can see, the radio looks a whole lot better than it did. So that's good to go. Now the next thing I'm doing is I'm trying to weather up this leather stuff in here. So what I've done, using the Abteilung Earth ABT 093, I'm using that just to stipple, putting some dots of the paint on the base leather color, and then I'm trying to get it more around the edges there, but then just using a small brush with very, very little thinner on it, just barely moistened and mainly wiped off. Then I'm just stippling it on there like this, just to make it look like stressed out leather. Whether or not this was the appropriate color that they used, I have no way of knowing. So I'm just going with brown leather like it said in the instructions. Just trying to make it look like it's just some used worn leather. I already did this up here, and I still got to do the sides of it, but I just did it on the top because I knew it'd be easy to remove if I wanted to. So some of this I'm going to remove most of it because I think I got a little bit too much right there. It's nice stuff about these oils. You can just move them off, move them around. You can really control where they go. By stippling it, keeping it kind of transparent, makes it look a little more textured or partially faded. I want to get some of that out of the middle. I don't want the middle part. I wouldn't, again, I'm just assuming here, I wouldn't think that the inner parts would be, I would think more of the edges would be worn than the center, you know, because of the framework underneath. So I'm going to kind of push some of that out of there. Okay, then just kind of blend it back in. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Like that. So that's what we got going on there. All right, so that is the last of what I'm going to do in there for now, because the rest of what I'm going to do is going to be dust and grit and stuff like that. So the next thing I need to do is I need to glue these parts in. And this part here goes down there. Like that. That little pin there goes in that hole. So I need to get that in place, and I'm gonna have to use my super glue because I got so much paint and stuff on there. So I'm gonna use this medium set stuff. I don't want to get too much on there because I don't want to. You can always put some flat on it. Get that like that. Try and get it on there as close as possible the first time. There we go, so as not to so I'm gonna let that set up for a second, and then I can do this part here, which goes there. Then I can do the seat. Then that'll pretty much wrap up the inside of this. But I will have to do some dusting and stuff like that, but that will come later. I just mainly wanted to get the paint and all that taken care of. Let's see what that looks like with that on there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. My repair job on the top, now it's got paint on it, doesn't look near as good as I thought it did. So I've got a funny feeling there's going to be some equipment on there to kind of, you know, fix that. So let's see. Okay, so this part, we got this little slot, or this little part here goes in that slot there. That goes in that hole there. So let's see what it looks like. Oh, just like that. Splendid. Okay, so let's get some glue on that. Super glue, same stuff. I think what I'll do in this case, let's put the glue in the hole there like that. Okay, hopefully not stick my fingers in it. Now I must say, whoa, that's just all kinds of weird. I think the instructions actually call for this to be done, this to be attached to the main radio part before it's installed, but I didn't do that. All right, and then lastly, I've got to put this seat in place. So again, let's do some of the old super glue. I'm just going to squirt some. This isn't very whoa, this isn't the very precise way of doing it, but you know what? That's what I'm doing. All right, so there we go. That is all in place. All right, so there's that. So I think that wraps up steps 10 and 11. All right, so in this video, we did steps 10 and 11, which not only included construction of all of the crew compartment and radio, but the paint, the basic paint, and a little bit of weathering, i.e. wearing down of paint and stuff, and some pin washes. So that pretty much concludes this video. So next time when we come back, we will be working on steps 12, 13, and 14, which is the interior of the upper hull parts, and then attaching the upper hull and some of the associated components thereon. So that's it. That is the end of part number 5, steps 10 and 11 of the Jim and Brett Greif buddy build. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it wasn't too long. As always, if you have any hints, tips, comments, suggestions, anything like that, please put them in the comments section down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So until next time, I will see you all later.